Unfortunately, Reform is going down the deadly path of trying to outflank Labour on the left. And this seems to me to be insane.
Breaking today, the Reform UK crisis has deepened, with James McMurdock, the party's 5th MP, now quitting to sit as an independent in Parliament. That comes amid suggestions that I can reveal that Lee Anderson, who is Reform UK's chief whip, is facing suggestions that he may have leaked details of James McMurdock's previous business dealings to the Sunday Times in an attempt to throw this MP under the bus. And should we really give Reform UK the benefit of the doubt, given that Zia Youssef reported Rupert Lowe to the police? The background to this, of course, is James McMurdock has been allying himself with Rupert Lowe. He's a member of his rape gang inquiry, and I believe that talks were taking place for him to potentially join Restore Britain. Here is the post from James McMurdock announcing the decision, which I have to say does leave more questions than answers. Further to my statement tweeted on the 5th of July 2025, I have now had a chance to take specialist legal advice from an expert in the relevant field. In light of that advice, which is privileged and which I choose to keep private at this time, I have decided to continue my parliamentary career as an independent MP, where I can focus 100% on the interests of my constituents. Now, I spoke to a Reform UK source about that post today, who suggested that James McMurdock may be admitting there that there had been some impropriety in terms of his COVID business dealings. But of course, we don't know that. He denied that earlier in the week. And just remember, these allegations had been surfaced and had been widely available online for a year. Rupert Lowe has gone public, saying, I will support James, my friend, however I can. In my view, he has been poorly treated and deserves better. I look forward to working with James in Parliament to deliver for our constituents and the wider country. Now, all this comes at a time where there is real concern on the right of British politics about Reform UK. David Starkey, Sir David Starkey, has become the latest to criticise the party for moving to the left. And I'll tell you what he has to say in just one moment. But first, to my superstar panel, Peter McElvenna of the Hearts of Oak podcast, and Susan Hall, who is, of course, the leading Conservative in London. But now, and relevant to this story, really, Susan, a member of Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain movement. Now, Susan, what's so fascinating for me about this, and by the way, congratulations for joining Restore Britain. I think you're brave and it's brilliant that you have done so. But of course, it isn't a party, is it? So you are allowed as a member of the Conservatives, and Kemi Badenoch, I believe, has given her approval for you to be part of this movement, or at least she has spoken publicly and said that she believes that you can be. So why would Reform UK be so sensitive about James McMurdock potentially becoming a member of Restore Britain? Big news, Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
I really don't know, and I don't know what they're playing at. As a politician, you look at them and you think, why don't you just settle things down? You know, I mean, obviously, as a Conservative, and I will always be a Conservative, you know, if things go wrong, then perhaps that would be better as a Conservative. But as a politician, you think, what on earth are you doing? You've got to have a stable party if you want to do anything. And the MPs are all over the place, and we've seen their councillors resigning. That, you know, that should bring alarm bells really for people, because you've got to have stability in politics. This is what we need. So I was shocked to see that today, and very surprised. I mean, it will mean that they don't anymore have to look into all of his business dealings. That to do now, but I just saw it when the message came through from you. I haven't actually seen the news today. I've been working.
It's interesting, isn't it, Peter McElvenna, the suggestion that this potentially could have been an inside job. Lots of people speculating that Nigel Farage was never a big fan of James McMurdock because you remember he had that previous assault conviction, and Nigel almost viewed him as like a walking, talking failure of Reform UK's vetting policies. And then the suggestion that the leak to the Sunday Times may have come from within Reform UK itself, from Lee Anderson, potentially, at least that is what is being discussed. I'm sure Lee Anderson would deny that. But this is really dirty politics. This is really dirty politics, Peter. And I just wanted to show you the Conservatives on X have posted a lot can change in a year. For Nigel Farage, it's losing 40% of your MPs. It's got us asking the question, who's next? And Lee Anderson has very quickly hit back at that, saying, didn't you lose 244 MPs this time last year? What's that in percentage terms? Which you could argue is a fair point, but the problem is no one is saying that the Conservatives governed particularly well over the past 14 years. But what we are needing is an alternative. And with this constant decision making by Reform UK to throw people under the bus who may provide some type of threat to Nigel Farage, who is going to be left? But first, this episode of Outspoken is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. And I'm very excited to say the heat has officially arrived overseas. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in the white hot special edition colorway from Manscaped, now available across the UK, Europe, and Australia too. Now, this is the same trimmer trusted by millions of men down below, now with a clean white and gold finish that looks just as smooth as it shaves. And it isn't just a pretty face. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is built to handle your most sensitive areas with care, helping reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, and irritation where it matters most. So whether you're cleaning things up for a date, a trip, or just to feel a bit more put together, the white hot trimmer makes below the waist grooming a whole lot smoother, literally. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. And let me tell you, the ladies in the Outspoken audience would really do well as using this as a fail-safe gift for your boyfriend, your husband, your son, your brother, your hard-to-buy-for best mate, because the blades are designed to glide over the skin with less tug and pull, helping the bloke in your life avoid the usual redness or irritation that comes with low-quality groomers. It's simple, it's effective, it doesn't require a whole routine. Just pick it up, clean up, and move on. Whether you're using it in the shower, on the glow, or standing over the sink before a night out, the White Hot 5.0 Ultra fits into your day without getting in the way. Plus, the white and gold design actually looks so good, I don't think you'd want to be hiding this away in the bottom drawer, right? White hot looks, smooth results. The White Hot 5.0 Ultra brings the heat without cooking your skin. It's sleek, easy to use, and way less terrifying than whatever you were using before. Use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with the code Outspoken at manscaped.com. But now, back to the show.
There have not been many left, and yeah, losing 2 out of 5 isn't great. And if Nigel wants to be Prime Minister, he will have to have 300 plus MPs. 330 if he wants a majority. How is Nigel going to keep 330 people together? Anyone who rises and is popular, like Rupert Lowe, obviously will be removed. Anyone who says something or joins a group that he doesn't like will certainly be removed. You can imagine how quickly that 330 would go down. So I don't know. Nigel has to change his focus, and I don't think he is able to. He's been in politics so long. But he has, the one thing he's failed to build up in politics, I think, is a thick skin. And you take whatever happens in politics, and you go with it. You don't worry about the criticism because you're focused on doing what's right. And yet, Nigel has ruled back on so many issues and seems to want to make himself some kind of Lib Dem, so that he can actually try and suck in all the votes. He's still Nigel. He'll get the votes as Nigel. He wants to kind of go into the middle, not criticize or say anything that might cause offense to someone, and therefore sucks in those votes. I think he's just doing all he can do to get to that line of 2029 and get into 10 Downing Street. It's weird with James, because James wasn't a threat. He's not extremely well known. He's got one of the smallest majorities, under 100 majority in Parliament. So he's not a very high figure, well known, maybe a little bit different than Rupert. But simply joining a group that he hasn't been told he can't join. It was like some of the issues we had back in UKIP in the day, where people joining groups and being thrown out. And it's like that chaotic feel back in the kind of good old days of UKIP, where it was fun and you weren't looking at actually being a number 10. Nigel is looking at number 10 and therefore seems to remove anyone that might stop that. But at this rate, I mean, well, obviously he'll just be left with Lee Anderson, who will do the dirty work, and left with Richard Tice, who doesn't say boo to anyone, so just goes with it. So I assume it'll just be the three of them will just kind of float on to 2029.
Now, who, of course, was a Tory until very, very recently. It is funny, though, Rupert Lowe, he ain't taking any prisoners, because he actually responded to Lee Anderson today saying, didn't you campaign for Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister? And this is one of the big problems. You see, this is one of the big problems. Like, if Reform UK is going to go down the path of criticising anyone who used to be in another party, well, the reality is that most of their members used to be Tories. There's another big issue going on at the moment, though, which is that they just want us all to sit down, shut up, and trust them, no matter what they say. That is literally their approach. Don't worry your pretty little heads about it. We've got this. Just trust us. And Richard Tice even tried that approach with the great David Starkey. So David Starkey, which I don't think is going to work, because David posted, if Reform UK turns to the left, as they're showing some signs of doing, this country is finished. Richard's response, relax, David. We are the party of common sense and growth. Trust us. Well, unfortunately, no. Mr. Tice, that is not how politics work. You have to convince us that you're actually worth our trust, and right now you're not. And I totally agree with everything that David Starkey said in his video, and I want to play you the key moment here.
Unfortunately, Reform is going down the deadly path of trying to outflank Labour on the left. And this seems to me to be insane. There is no point in that sort of populism. What I think the real risk is that Farage could actually, if he continues with that, and I hope he won't, and I know there's some very much wiser people around him and trying to formulate policy, but if he continues in that direction, there's a real risk he will be the English Peron, the British Peron. And we are very near to a Peronist state, and if you get the whole, as it were, it's almost blue Labour, isn't it? If you get faith, flag, and family combined with these radical redistributionist policies through heavy taxation and large-scale welfare, it is the Peron mixture, which, it's taken Millet, it's taken literally the chainsaw to begin to break down, and I am terrified of that.
I think there's good reason for him to be terrified, Peter McIlvenna. But Richard Tice just saying, just trust us. Just trust us. When we're saying we're not going to do mass deportations, when we're saying we don't worry about demographic change, when we're now saying that we want to lift the 2-child benefit cap, when we're saying that we're no longer a right-wing party, just trust us. No, we're not just going to trust you.
No, we weren't. And to ridicule David Starkey like that, to mock him, that is wow. And that's what I'll say. My post to Richard Tice would be, wow, you've completely lost it. But with David Starkey saying there are smarter people around, Nigel, maybe you'll listen. Nigel doesn't need to listen to advice because he is Nigel. So why would he listen to any advice? That's the difficulty. I think with Rupert, and I know you've had Ben on before, and you've many people. You need to be open to listening to ideas. You need to be open to changing course. You need to be open to listen to people who know more about a subject than you. Now, if you think there's no one else who knows better than you because you've been in this game for 30 years, then you have come up against a problem and you're not going to change. And I think that's the dangerous place that Nigel is in. And I hope that David Starkey is right, that some people do nudge him to change course. But I think he's an old dog, and I don't think he's going to learn new tricks.
Susan Hall, do you think the possibility with Restore Britain is that it could become almost like the American Tea Party movement, which then led to the MAGA movement and then almost was part of a reverse takeover of the Republican Party? Like, do you think there's a possibility that what Restore Britain is trying to do, which is really push true conservative policies, you know, true right-wing policies, move from this sort of horrible middling centre ground Lib Dem type rubbish, could it come and almost take over your party, the Conservative Party, but in a positive way?
I don't think so. I think what Rupert is telling me that he wants to do is to just come out with some good policies and take it from there. If it at any points looks as if it's going to be a political party, I will move away because I am a Conservative. But as for Nigel Farage, I mean, I agree with both of you. It's bizarre what he's doing. And to start with, where his positioning was to the right of the Conservatives, and lots of people bought into that. I mean, working class Labour bought into it, and it was common sense stuff. And then he started shifting to the left and coming up with to removing the two-child cap. Now, what this country needs more than anything else at the moment is people with fiscal responsibility. The Labour are absolutely going to be on they're on their knees now, because we've got a Chancellor who doesn't know what she is doing. And that will cost all of us. And whilst the Tories got so many things wrong, I accept that unreservedly. At the base of it all, you know, financially, it could have been better, but it was far more stable. And we mustn't forget, we did have the pandemic. We had lots of issues during there that did knock us off course. But if reforms start going up, we'll give this away free, give that away free. Most people in this country actually stop to think, actually, can we afford that? Because look at the mess Labour are in, and that's all around finances. And if Nigel Farage isn't careful, he will prove that he just couldn't run the country, because it's no good saying we'll give everybody everything they want, because I wish life was like that, but we all know it's not.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.